The silent preparation for many years, Earth was quiet. To the galaxy, humanity looked weak and unimportant. Other civilizations sent probes and signals, but the humans replied with nothing. No answers, no noise, just silence. But in the silence, something was happening, something vast. Beneath the oceans, inside the deserts, and high above the mountains, hidden bases were built. Giant factories worked day and night, creating machines never before seen. People lived their daily lives, unaware of what was rising in secret. Only a few leaders, scientists, and engineers knew the truth. Above the moon, shadows moved. Strange objects orbited, but they were disguised as rocks. From far away, they looked like harmless debris. In reality, they were pieces of something much greater, parts of a fleet, parts of a dream. The galaxy had always believed humanity would stay trapped on one small planet. They thought Earth would always be weak, easy to control, easy to ignore. But the humans had learned one thing across their history: silence is a weapon. In silence, humanity prepared. Years ago, when the first alien signals reached Earth, humanity realized they were not alone. At first, there was wonder. People dreamed of peace and friendship. But the signals carried more than words. They carried warnings, stories of wars between stars, of empires that crushed smaller worlds, of species that vanished in fire. Humanity listened, and then humanity decided. The world united in secret. Nations that once fought each other now signed quiet treaties. Old enemies shook hands. Rival armies shared their knowledge. For the first time in history, Earth stood as one. Not because they wanted peace, but because they feared the silence breaking. Factories expanded underground. Entire cities were designed just to build starships. Engineers whispered about weapons that could split moons in half. Workers built engines the size of skyscrapers. Every part was tested, hidden, and locked away. No broadcasts were made. No signals escaped. From space, Earth looked calm. But under the surface, a storm was growing. The first true fleet began above Mars. Massive structures floated in orbit, cloaked from alien eyes. Ships were assembled piece by piece, some larger than mountains, some sharp and fast like arrows. Every design had one purpose: survival. A young worker in one of the shipyards once asked, "Who will we fight?" The answer came in a whisper: "Anyone who tries to stop us." For the galaxy, humanity remained silent. But for humanity itself, every day was louder than the last. Hammers struck metal, welders sparked fire, and engines roared in testing. The sound of preparation echoed in secret chambers no outsider would ever see. The leaders gave only one order: prepare for the day. On Earth, life looked normal. Children went to school, families ate together, markets opened and closed. But above them, in hidden orbits, war machines were waking. The first command ships were called Guardians. Each was large enough to carry a city inside. Their armor was thick as mountains. Their weapons glowed with stored energy. Behind them came the spears, sharp destroyers built to move fast, to strike before an enemy could even blink. Every ship had a name. Every ship had a purpose, and every ship was waiting. Humanity did not announce its progress. There were no flags, no speeches, only silence. Because silence kept them safe. Silence gave them time, and time was what they needed most. Far away, alien scouts passed by Earth's system. They sent back their reports. Humans remain simple. Their planet is quiet. Their technology is slow. Nothing to fear. But their eyes could not see the truth. They could not see the fleets hidden in the shadows. The galaxy thought humanity was sleeping. But humanity was not asleep. Humanity was watching. Humanity was working, and soon humanity would rise. One night, a single ship left Earth's orbit. It was not large, not a warship, just a test vessel. It slipped into deep space, silent and cold. The test was simple: to see if the engines could cross the void. It succeeded. The signal returned to Earth with only 3 words: "It is ready." And so, the final stage began. The fleets grew faster now, hundreds of ships, then thousands. Dockyard the size of a planet was constructed in orbit, hidden with clever shadows and false signals. To outsiders, it looked like dust. To insiders, it was the greatest achievement in human history. Inside the command chambers, the leaders gathered. They looked at the fleet rising above their world. For a long time, no one spoke. Then at last, one leader whispered the words that had guided them for decades. Humanity prepared in silence, but silence cannot last forever. The order was given. Engines powered up. Lights flickered across the fleet like stars being born. And in that moment, humanity was no longer silent. Humanity was ready. The galaxy did not know it yet. But soon they would hear. Very soon. The first glimpse. For decades, the galaxy believed Earth was quiet, harmless, and slow. But the truth could no longer stay hidden. The first glimpse came not from Earth itself, but from the void above Mars. A strange signal flickered in the dark, brief, faint, and then gone. Alien observers caught the echo, but it made no sense. To them, it looked like background noise. To humanity, it was the first light of a secret now too large to hide. Above the red planet, shadows shifted. What once looked like empty rocks now glowed with a faint light. The disguise began to fail. Slowly, the mask of silence cracked, and then the fleet was seen. A structure larger than any city floated in orbit. At first, it seemed impossible, like a fragment of a planet torn apart. But as the lights came alive, its purpose became clear. It was no natural rock, it was a dockyard, a construction site in space so massive that even alien empires had to pause and wonder, how could humans build this? Inside, warships were being born. The first ones drifted out, silent and dark. Their hulls shone black, swallowing light. They carried no flags, no signs, only purpose. Some were colossal, shaped like mountains forged from steel. Others were sharp and long, like spears designed to pierce the void. Together, they formed a fleet the galaxy had never expected from a young species like humanity. It was the first glimpse of power. On Earth, people did not see it with their own eyes, but they felt it. Rumors spread through whispers and encrypted channels. A worker in one of the underground factories told his family, "Something has left Mars. Something we made." The story spread like wildfire. At first it sounded like fantasy, but then strange broadcasts began. Small flashes of light in the night sky. Images leaked from hidden cameras. Grainy pictures of ships drifting in orbit. People saw them and felt something new. Fear mixed with pride. For the first time, humanity looked beyond Earth and saw its own reflection, not in weakness, but in strength. The fleet did not speak. It did not announce its presence, but its shadow touched everything. Even the alien watchers could no longer deny it. Their probes recorded ships larger than anything humanity was supposed to create. Their reports grew urgent. The humans have built war machines. We do not know how many. We do not know how strong, but they exist. The galaxy argued among itself. Some said it was impossible. Others said it was dangerous. A few laughed, dismissing humanity as children playing with tools, too large for their hands, but the wise ones did not laugh. They remembered old wars, forgotten empires, and the price of underestimating the silent. Back on Earth, the leaders gathered again. They stood in a dark chamber, watching the live feed of the fleet drifting near Mars. None of them spoke for a long time. At last one said, "The galaxy has seen us. The first glimpse is enough. Now they will watch. Now they will prepare, and so must we." But the fleet was not just for defense. Humanity had built more than weapons. Deep inside the dockyard, massive ships stirred. Ships designed not to destroy but to carry. Colony vessels, each the size of a continent, prepared for launch. Inside them were gardens, rivers, and artificial skies. Humanity had not only prepared for war. Humanity had prepared to expand. The first glimpse showed both sides, the sword and the seed. Ordinary people on Earth finally saw the truth in official broadcasts. No longer could the leaders hide the ships. Across the world, giant screens, lit up with images of the fleet, drifting like silent giants against the black sky. Children pointed at the screens with wide eyes. Elders wept quietly. Soldiers stood taller, knowing their struggle had built this. The message was simple. We are ready. In alien space, panic spread. Fleets were ordered to move closer to human territory. Borders tightened. Merchants whispered that war was coming. But some saw something else, an opportunity. If humanity had built such wonders in silence, then perhaps they could not be crushed so easily. Perhaps alliances could be forged. Perhaps Earth was not prey but a rising power. Still, fear outweighed hope. And so the galaxy watched. The humans had stepped into the light and there was no turning back. But even as the fleet shone above Mars, humanity did not stop. New ships were already under construction. Weapons were still being tested in the hidden void beyond Neptune. Every glimpse was only part of the truth. The real strength remained unseen. And yet, for the first time in history, the galaxy understood something. Humanity was no longer silent. Humanity was no longer waiting. Humanity had revealed the first edge of its blade. The glimpse had become a warning, and somewhere, far beyond the solar system, a message spread across alien channels, carrying a single line that froze entire councils and emperors in fear. The humans are ready for the galaxy. The silence was broken. The storm was coming. Whispers across the galaxy. The first glimpse of humanity's fleet did not stay hidden for long. In the vast web of alien empires, rumors travel faster than light. A whisper began near the trade routes, carried by merchants and spies, passed from ship to ship, station to station. Soon, across the galaxy, voices spoke the same question. What are the humans building? At first, many dismissed the idea. Humanity was young, trapped on a single small world. They were loud once, sending radio waves and messages into space, like children throwing stones into a lake. But then they went silent. For generations, nothing came from Earth. No signals, no answers, no movement. To the galaxy, silence meant weakness. Silence meant fear. But now the silence meant something else. Reports grew. Ships the size of cities seen above Mars. Docks larger than moons hidden in orbit. Engines so bright they lit the dark like new suns. The whispers turned into stories, and the stories turned into fear. In the council chambers of alien empires, leaders argued, they are only humans, a primitive species. Let them play with their machines. They will break them before they even fight. But others shook their heads. No, a species does not build fleets in silence unless they mean to use them. The humans are not children anymore. They are soldiers. They are planners. And they are ready. The whispers did not stop there. In taverns on asteroid stations, pilots spoke of human weapons that could split a cruiser in half. In the shadow, market smugglers claimed they had seen human warships fire beams that bent around shields. Some said humanity had discovered secrets even ancient empires had forgotten. Most of it was lies. But every lie carried a seed of truth. And that truth spread faster than any fleet. The humans were preparing for war. Far away, an alien intelligence agency intercepted a broken human transmission. 3 words only. The fleet ready. Though the words were rough, mistranslated, and incomplete, the meaning was clear. Humanity was declaring its first message to the stars, and it was not peace. The whispers reached the predators of the galaxy, the empires that lived by conquest, who grew fat on weaker worlds. They had ignored Earth for centuries. Why fight for a small blue planet when greater prizes were waiting? But now they sharpened their claws. The whispers made them restless. They feared not what humanity was, but what it could become. One warlord sneered, if these humans are truly preparing fleets, then we must crush them now before their roots grow too deep. But another voice, older and wiser, replied, and if you are wrong, if they are stronger than you think, then your fleets will burn. Do not underestimate the silent ones. For centuries, the galaxy had lived in a balance of power. The strong ruled, the weak obeyed. and the silent disappeared. But humanity had broken the pattern. They had stayed silent, yes, but not to vanish. They had stayed silent to prepare. The whispers turned into fear, and fear turned into action. Some empires began moving fleets closer to human borders. Some sent diplomats, carrying offers of alliances, their smiles hiding unease. Others began their own secret preparations, afraid that if humanity rose, their power would fall. But humanity did not answer. Their fleets remained dark and quiet, drifting near Mars and Earth. No threats, no messages, just presence. And that silence was more terrifying than any speech. Ordinary aliens, far from politics and war, spoke in hushed voices. Parents warned their children about Earth, telling tales of human soldiers waiting in the dark. Traders began raising prices on goods shipped near Sol, too afraid of human ambushes. Even the criminal underworld grew cautious, not daring to smuggle near human space. And still, no human voice came. The galaxy had only whispers, and whispers are dangerous. Whispers grow. Whispers twist. Whispers turn into nightmares. On a distant world, a council of scholars gathered. They had studied every young species that rose before humanity, and they saw the same signs. In silence, humanity had united. In silence, they had built weapons. In silence, they had prepared fleets. And when such silence breaks, it always breaks. In fire. One scholar wrote a warning, a message to every empire. Do not provoke the humans, do not attack them, do not test them, for they are like the storm, quiet until it strikes and then unstoppable. But not everyone listened. Some laughed. Some sharpened their blades. Some prepared fleets to meet the humans head-on. And on Earth, the leaders heard the whispers too. They knew the galaxy was watching now. They knew their silence had ended. The choice was no longer theirs alone. In a chamber deep below the surface, one of the commanders spoke. The galaxy whispers about us. Let them. Let fear grow. Because fear is our ally. And when the day comes, they will learn that humanity did not prepare in silence for nothing. Above Earth, the fleets shone brighter. Engines warmed. Weapons hummed. Soldiers trained in silence, waiting for the order. The whispers across the galaxy grew louder every day. But soon, whispers would not be enough. Soon the galaxy would not just hear, it would see. The enemy approaches. The whispers had spread across the galaxy like wildfire. They could not be ignored anymore. Humanity was no longer just a quiet species on a small blue world. Humanity had fleets. Humanity had weapons. Humanity was preparing. And now the galaxy was preparing too. It began with the probe. A tiny machine, no larger than a fighter, slipped into the solar system. It carried cloaking screens, silent engines, and instructions from its masters. Observe, record, report. It drifted past Saturn's rings, sliding through shadows like a ghost. But near Jupiter, it made a mistake. A single flash of light cut across the void. A human destroyer uncloaked for only a moment, its sensors locked onto the intruder. Before the probe could run, it was gone, turned into dust by a beam faster than thought. The aliens who sent it never received a report. Only silence returned. The message was clear. Humanity knew it was being watched. Humanity was no longer hiding. In the halls of alien power, leaders grew restless. The disappearance of the probe was a warning, and the galaxy did not ignore warnings. The first fleets began to move. Massive carriers left their docks. Warships gathered at border stations. In dark hangars, old weapons long kept in storage were brought back to life. The empires did not agree on much, but they agreed on this. Humanity was dangerous. Humanity could not be allowed to rise without challenge. The galaxy's predators were ready. From the edges of space, patrols spotted strange movements, alien scouts gliding through asteroid belts, their eyes fixed on the solar system. Distant signals, encrypted but hurried, crossed through wormholes. Even smugglers, usually fearless, avoided human borders now. Humanity knew the Watchers were closer every day. On Earth, the leaders gathered once more. In a chamber deep beneath the ground, maps of the galaxy glowed across the walls. Fleets were marked in red, alien fleets moving toward Sol. Some were small, others were massive, entire armadas shifting their weight closer and closer. The silence that had protected humanity for so long was over. One commander spoke, her voice calm but heavy. They are coming. The enemy approaches. Not one empire, but many. The whispers have turned into action. They will test us soon. Around the table, the others nodded. None were surprised. They had prepared for this moment since the first alien signal decades ago. Above Mars, the great dockyard blazed with activity. The fleet was still growing, but already it was strong. Command ships the size of continents moved into formation. Destroyers tested their weapons in secret drills. Colony vessels were secured, their massive holds filled with supplies. Humanity had no choice but to be ready. For the ordinary people of Earth, life felt different now. No longer whispers, no longer rumors. Official broadcasts warned them of possible dangers beyond the stars. The news did not speak of war, but everyone felt it. Soldiers moved more openly in the cities. Families were told to prepare emergency shelters. Children were taught not only history, but the names of new stars, the stars where battles might be fought. And above them all, the fleet drifted like silent guardians. In alien space, the debates grew sharper. Some leaders argued to strike first, to crush humanity before it grew too strong. Others urged caution, afraid of the unknown. For all their size and power, the aliens did not know how far humanity had advanced. And the unknown is always terrifying. But one warlord broke the silence, in a council chamber filled with shouting voices. His words chilled them all. Do not fear what the humans have now. Fear what they will have tomorrow. If we wait, we lose. If we strike now, we win. And so, fleets were ordered forward. Human scouts detected them first near the Kuiper Belt. Tiny signals, faint but undeniable. Warships gathering at the edge of the solar system. They were not here for trade. They were not here for peace. They were here to test humanity's silence. When the report reached Earth, there was no panic, only grim focus. The leaders knew this was inevitable. The first clash would come, sooner than expected. Orders were given. The Guardians, humanity's massive command ships, moved into new positions near Jupiter and Saturn. The Spears, sharp destroyers, spread out like hunters in the dark. Even the colony vessels, though built for survival, were armored and armed. Humanity had built for this moment. Still, the tension was heavy. For all their preparation, for all their fleets, humanity had never fought a galactic enemy. They had fought each other for centuries, but this was different. This was not a war for land or resources. This was a war for survival itself. One soldier, staring out at the stars from her post aboard a destroyer, whispered to herself, "They think we are weak. They think we are prey. They have no idea." In the darkness of space, the first alien signals arrived. Demands, warnings, threats. Humanity did not answer. Their silence was the answer. Their fleets remained in formation, weapons cold but ready. The enemy approached closer, their numbers rising, their ships gleaming with old pride and power. But in their hearts there was doubt. For silence can be terrifying. And as the alien fleets drew near, as the galaxy held its breath, a final thought echoed across the human command chambers. They come to test us. Let them. The silence will end with fire. The enemy was at the gates. The first clash was near, and humanity was ready. The unveiling of the fleet, the galaxy thought it understood humanity. They believed Earth was still small, still fragile, still unworthy of fear. Even as alien fleets moved closer, many assumed the humans would scatter, surrender, or beg for mercy. But they were wrong. The silence that had hidden humanity's preparations was about to break. And when it did, the galaxy would see something no one expected. It began with a single spark of light above Mars. At first, it looked like a star flickering against the red planet's shadow. Then another light, and another. Soon an entire field of stars seemed to ignite in the blackness of space. But these were no stars. They were ships. The first to emerge were the Guardians. Each was a floating fortress, so massive that even alien dreadnoughts looked small in comparison. Their armor reflected faint sunlight, their weapons glowed with hidden energy, and their hulls carried entire cities within. To see one Guardian was to see a planet reborn in steel. Behind them came the spears. Sleek, fast, sharp as knives in the dark. They spread out in formation, their engines leaving trails of white fire as they cut across the void. Destroyers, hunters, defenders. They moved like predators released from a cage. And then, the colony ships. Giants larger than mountains, their holds filled with forests, rivers, and homes for millions. They were not built for war alone. They were built for survival, for expansion, for the promise that humanity would never again be caged on one fragile world. All together, they formed a fleet that stretched farther than the eye could see. Thousands of ships, small and great, united in silence, but burning with purpose. The unveiling had begun. From alien outposts near the solar system, watchers saw it first. Their reports were frantic, their voices filled with disbelief. The humans have a fleet. Not dozens, not hundreds, thousands. A dockyard larger than moons. Engines brighter than suns. This is no mistake. This is no illusion. The reports spread across the galaxy like fire. Empires that had mocked humanity fell silent. Warlords who had promised easy conquest now hesitated. Even the ancient powers who had seen many species rise and fall paused in awe. For the first time, the galaxy realized humanity had not just prepared for defense. They had prepared for dominance. On Earth, billions watched the broadcast. The fleet hidden for so long was finally shown to the world. Children pointed to the screens in wonder. Families wept with pride. Soldiers stood taller, knowing their sacrifice had built this. Humanity had waited, worked, and suffered in silence. Now, they saw the reward. The unveiling was more than ships. It was a message. To the galaxy, it said, "We are not weak. We are not prey. We are ready." In the alien councils, fear grew. The fleet was larger than expected, stronger than expected, more united than expected. A species once divided by nations, by wars, by pride, had now built something even the great empires could not match in secret. How? One emperor demanded of his advisors. How did they do this without us seeing? But there was no answer. Because humanity had done what no other species had dared. They had prepared in silence. Above Mars, the fleet shifted into formation. A signal pulsed across the ships, one simple command. Engines roared, weapons armed, shields came alive. For the first time, the galaxy saw humanity not as scattered voices, but as one power. A commander aboard the lead Guardian stood before her, crew. Her voice carried calm steel. For years they ignored us. For years they thought we were nothing. Today they will see. Today, humanity speaks. Not with words, but with fire. The crew answered with silence. But their silence was stronger than any shout. Their hands gripped their stations, their eyes fixed on the stars. And then the fleet moved. Alien scouts who had been watching fled in panic. Some were destroyed before they could escape, their signals cut short by human destroyers moving faster than light. Others managed to send out fragments of reports, ships moving in perfect formations, weapons glowing with power unknown. The unveiling shook the galaxy. Ordinary aliens whispered in fear. Traders avoided human space entirely. Even smugglers spoke cautiously of Seoul as though it were cursed. Empires called emergency councils, rushing to decide, attack, negotiate, or retreat. But humanity did not wait for their choice. Humanity had already chosen. The unveiling was not only to show strength, it was to send a warning. To every star, every empire, every warlord, the fleet's existence carried one message. We will not kneel. We will not hide. We will not be silent again. And yet the unveiling was not the end. It was only the beginning. Because beyond Neptune, more ships were still under construction, weapons still being tested, engines still being refined. What the galaxy saw above Mars was not all of humanity's power. It was only the first glimpse of what was to come. The unveiling of the fleet was a promise of war, a promise of survival, a promise that humanity, once ignored, would now be impossible to forget. As the ships moved into their positions, as their shadows stretched across the void, a final message was transmitted, broadcast not in words, but in the thunder of engines, that could be heard across the system. And in that moment, the galaxy understood. Humanity had arrived. The silence was broken. The storm was here. The first clash, the unveiling of humanity's fleet, shook the galaxy. For a moment, silence returned. But this time it was not the silence of hiding. It was the silence before war. At the edge of the solar system, alien fleets gathered. Their ships burned with cold light, their weapons charged, their commanders eager to prove their power. For generations, these empires had crushed younger species. They had enslaved, conquered, and erased entire civilizations. To them, humanity was just another name on the list. But humanity was not like the others. When the alien fleets crossed into the Kuiper Belt, their scouts expected little resistance. They moved through the icy shadows, their sensors sweeping for human signals. For hours, they found nothing but silence. Then the silence broke. A human destroyer appeared out of the dark. Its hull shimmered, uncloaking with sudden brilliance. Before the aliens could react, a beam of light shot forward, cutting through one of their cruisers. The ship split apart in an instant, its burning fragments scattering into the void. The first shot of the war had been fired. Alarms rang across both sides. The alien commanders shouted orders, their fleets rushing into formation. The humans did not wait. From behind Neptune, from hidden positions among asteroids, the spears surged forward. Fast, sharp, unstoppable. They cut across the battlefield, like blades of light striking the enemy before they could even aim. The aliens answered with fire. Missiles streaked through the void. Plasma beams roared, turning space into storms of color. Shields flared, hulls cracked, and explosions bloomed. In silence, the first clash was chaos, ships dying on both sides, the void lit like a battlefield of suns. Above it all, the Guardians moved. The massive human command ships advanced slowly, their engines rumbling with power. Each Guardian carried weapons that could shatter moons. When the first one fired, the galaxy felt it. A beam wider than a city crossed the void, striking an alien battleship. The battleship vanished. Not destroyed, erased, reduced to dust in a single heartbeat. The enemy had expected a fight. They had not expected this. Humanity fought with more than weapons. They fought with unity. Every ship moved as part of one mind, connected through silent codes and unbreakable coordination. Alien fleets, though larger, moved slower. Their commanders shouting over each other, their ships clashing without order. The spears pierced their flanks, tearing through cruisers. The Guardians crushed their cores, their beams breaking enemy lines. Smaller human ships darted through the chaos, cutting enemy communications, blinding their sensors. But the cost was heavy. Human ships burned too. A destroyer shattered under enemy fire, its wreckage scattering like ashes. A colony ship, caught too close, lost half its defenses before retreating. Soldiers screamed across comms as decks tore apart. Humanity bled in silence, but their resolve never broke. One commander aboard a Guardian spoke with calm fire. "Hold the line. Every second we stand, Earth breathes. Every second we fight, humanity lives." And they fought harder. The aliens realized the truth too late. This was not a battle of conquest. This was a battle of survival. Humanity was not fighting for territory. They were fighting for existence. That kind of war cannot be broken by fear. The clash raged for hours. Explosions lit the dark. Entire fleets turned into graveyards of metal and fire. By the time the dust began to settle, the void was filled with wreckage. ships drifting lifeless, broken engines flickering, weapons cold, and in that silence, one fact was clear. The aliens had been stopped. Their fleets were shattered, their commanders dead or fleeing. The first clash had ended, and though humanity had lost many, they still stood. Their fleet was bloodied but unbroken. Their silence had become strength. On Earth, the news spread. The first battle of the galaxy had been fought, and humanity had survived. Cities erupted in shouts of pride and tears of sorrow. Families mourned, their dead, but they lifted their heads high. For the first time they knew humanity could stand against the galaxy. But in the alien empires, the whispers grew darker. The reports were undeniable. The humans had not only fought back, they had, one, the predators of the galaxy felt something new, something sharp and bitter. They felt fear. The first clash was only the beginning. More fleets were already gathering, more wars to come. Humanity knew this. The galaxy knew this. But the message had been written in fire and blood. We are not prey. We are not weak. We are humanity. And we will fight. Above Neptune, the Guardians drifted among the wreckage. Their lights flickered, their hulls scarred, but their engines still burned, strong. A transmission pulsed from the lead ship carrying across the system. The first battle is ours, the war has begun. The clash was over, the silence was gone, and the galaxy trembled. The message to the galaxy, the battlefield above Neptune, was quiet now. Wreckage drifted in endless silence, broken ships turning slowly in the dark. Fires still burned inside shattered hulls, glowing like dying stars. Human and alien alike had left their bones in the void, but the humans still stood. The Guardians, scarred but unbroken, floated like steel giants. The spears, though fewer in number, still moved in sharp formation. Even the colony ships, built for life not war, survived the storm. Humanity had faced the first clash with the galaxy, and humanity had not fallen. On Earth, the people waited for news. Cities were silent. Families gathered around screens. Soldiers stood in formation, holding their breath. When the broadcast came, it was only a single line: "We survived." The world erupted in shouts, in tears, in pride. Humanity had fought the galaxy and lived. For the first time, the silence of fear was broken by the roar of hope. But survival was only the beginning. The alien empires could not hide the truth. Their fleets had been broken. Their soldiers had died. Across the galaxy, whispers turned into shouts. Traders spoke of human warships stronger than anything seen in centuries. Smugglers told tales of beams that erased battleships. Ordinary citizens, far from the front, repeated the same story again and again. The humans are not weak, the humans are strong. Some feared, some admired, some plotted revenge, but no one ignored humanity anymore. And then, the message came. From the lead Guardian, a transmission pulsed across the stars. It carried on every frequency, piercing through shields, through jammers, through the silence of space. It reached alien warlords in their palaces, emperors in their golden halls, pirates in their dens, and farmers on distant worlds. Every ear in the galaxy heard it. The voice was calm, steady, and filled with iron. We are humanity. For generations, you ignored us. For generations, you believed we were weak. While you fought and conquered, we prepared. While you ruled in arrogance, we built in silence. And now the silence is broken. The words echoed, repeated in every tongue, translated by machines so no one could mistake them. We did not seek war, but we will not run from it. We did not ask for conquest, but we will not kneel. We are not prey. We are not slaves. We are not shadows. We are humanity. On Earth, people wept as they heard it. In alien space, commanders clenched their fists, knowing the truth was now undeniable. The message did not stop. Our fleet stands ready. Our worlds stand united. We are prepared to defend, to fight, and to survive. If you come for us, you will fall. If you threaten us, you will burn. If you test us, you will fail. The words were not shouted. They did not need to be. Calm words can be more terrifying than screams. And then came the final promise. We prepared in silence. But now, the galaxy will hear us. Remember our message, remember our name. Humanity rises. The transmission ended, but its echo remained. In the days that followed, the galaxy shook. Some empires pulled back their fleets, unwilling to risk another clash. Others rushed to prepare their armies, determined to challenge humanity again. A few sent secret envoys, whispering offers of alliance, fearing that standing against humans would mean destruction. But no matter what they chose, one fact was clear. Humanity was no longer a small voice lost in the stars. Humanity had become a storm. On Earth, life changed forever. Children no longer dreamed of distant stars with fear, but with pride. Soldiers trained not for wars between nations, but for battles among galaxies. Every human understood the truth. They were no longer alone. They were part of something larger than Earth itself. In the alien councils, arguments raged. Some leaders shouted for war, their pride wounded. Others begged for caution, warning of disaster. And still others stayed silent, afraid to speak at all. Because in their hearts they knew. Humanity had done what no other young species had dared. They had risen not in noise, not in chaos, but in silence. And silence had given them strength. The wreckage above Neptune remained as a monument. A graveyard of ships, human and alien, floating together in eternal silence. But within that silence was a warning, carved in steel and fire. Do not underestimate the humans. As the fleets repaired, as new ships were built, as weapons were sharpened and soldiers trained, one truth spread across the galaxy. Humanity had entered the stage, and they would not leave. The silence was over. The age of humanity had begun.